Hello, my witchy friends. Have you ever dreamed of wandering the ruins of an ancient castle or visiting important artworks at the National Gallery? Then you should come along with me on my England research trip. So this was my view from the airplane. It was an overnight red-eye flight, so we saw the sunrise, and it was beautiful. And when we arrived at Heathrow, I immediately saw Mind the Gap. Mind the Gap. And I was excited. We arrived in Dorchester. There was this Victorian church across the way, and the Dorset County Museum. So just so much history so nearby. And I'll show you here a little bit of the display cases that are inside the museum. Lots of natural history and botany, fossils and archaeology. I love this sort of stuff because it's very witchy, of course, but I loved seeing these little slide samples of leaves and these beautiful, very, very old books. And also Alfred Russel Wallace, who took inspiration from Charles Darwin's Origin of Species. There were also lots of shadow boxes, a lot like this one here that I found, kind of tucked away in a dark corner of the museum, with different species of butterflies all sort of flowing together in this kaleidoscope of colors. I love the little green one that you can see there. They also have local history. So here's Thomas Hardy's Study, a famous Victorian author. He wrote Tess of the D'Urbervilles, one of my favorite books, and lots of witchy literature. So I noticed while I was in Dorset that there were pictures of witches everywhere, just like this picture here of these Welsh witches having a little cup of tea and enjoying themselves in their black pointed hats. So this was in a local tea house. She also had these cute little magnets. And there was a cat, a little cat, orange cat, in the window that I walked by every single day. I loved it. And there's all sorts of really old objects and placards everywhere. So this is barely readable, but it's basically saying that if you mess with the bridge, you're in trouble. And the first night we were there, we went for a walk along the River From, and it really is a fast moving river. It has quite a bit of current, even though it's really small. But this is part of the Thomas Hardy Trail, which takes you straight to his house, and you can kind of see how beautiful it is. On one of the days that we were there, we went into the village of Corfe, and Corfe has a castle. There's castle ruins in Corfe. If you're ever in Corfe, highly recommend going to this village bakery up there. They had some of the most delicious pastries I've ever eaten in my life. I went there once and then immediately an hour later returned again to get more because it was so savory and so delicious. But it's a very quaint little village and it has a castle. And you can see views of the Purbeck countryside at Corfe Castle. But it's this old fortification and they have all sorts of different historical bits of information on signs everywhere, but it dates back to the 11th century and a lot of it has been sort of beaten down by the elements. But if we walk through this little archway here, we can see just how gorgeous it is. There's lots of pathways and it had just freshly rained when we visited. But what a view of the British countryside. I didn't want to ever stop looking at it. I couldn't believe that it actually existed as I had dreamed of visiting. But it was built shortly after 1066, and here I am walking on the stone or the pathway leading up to the castle. And the fact that your feet can touch something so old is incredible. A lot of it was ruined in the English Civil War. Looks so amazing, especially when you're in a lower place looking upwards. But there is some sort of magic, this ethereal, fairy-like feeling, as though there are traces of the past swirling around you with every step that you take. And this was when the rain cleared and the sun came out, which really illuminated everything. I highly recommend visiting this place. This was February, so a little bit dreary. And this is at the Victoria and Albert Museum, so we've fast forwarded to London. And I love this room because of the way that they've positioned this gorgeous collage of different artworks on this bright red wall. So it's really a feast for the eyes. It's hard to focus on any one painting because there's just so many all at once. But the richness, the textural elements of these paintings, they become so much more than one experience. When they all blur together, they become something else. This is a William Morris designed instrument, and this is my absolute favorite Dante Gabriel Rossetti painting. Was absolutely a dream to see it in person, and it's called The Daydream. There's also the cast room, which is massive. I felt completely stunned agog in this room. There's a cast of David and all sorts of other historical objects and monuments, but this video just cannot show the scale. And another collage room, but this time with a green wall. The next day I visited the British Library for research, and they have these illuminated bookcases in the middle of the room. And I saw Shakespeare's First Folio, which is pretty incredible, and George Eliot's Middlemarch. This is volume 3 of a handwritten draft. We also went to the Tate Britain because I wanted to see some pre-raphaelites, and I found this amazing picture, this painting, and this one as well with the archers in various poses. I love the frames that they use as well. It's hard to resist touching them. And the Lady of Shalott. The colors on this one in person were so different from how I've seen it printed in books. And Ophelia. Beautiful Ophelia. And some more Dante Gabriel Rossetti. This one has that gold foil effect. And this amazing still life of parchment and paper. Then we visited the British Museum. And this is the main atrium in the British Museum. If you've never seen it, you've probably seen it in movies before, because a lot of films have used this as a set. And I saw the Battersea Cauldron in person, and I almost cried. It's made from sheet bronze, and it's from 800 to 650 BC. An early Iron Age cauldron, one of the first cauldrons ever found. Truly a magical object. And of course, I sought out all of the magical things that I could find. Dr. D's magic, so these tablets, magic, mystery, and rites, just about how the British studied their use of amulets. And this container that kind of reminded me of a pumpkin, but it's betel nut. And all sorts of armor, weaponry, shields, and the famous Egyptian room with the sarcophagi really makes you appreciate the detail of the art and how much they valued the afterlife and the gentle care of bodies. It's truly a historical wonder. Here's a couple more close-ups. This room was really busy, of course, so it was hard to get much footage, but all sorts of things to wonder at in this room. And there's the Greco-Roman area. This is specifically Greek, but it's really grand, well-lit, echoey, and some wonderful little displays on Ukraine's cultural heritage, Easter eggs. I'm Ukrainian, so this really excited me. A man in Ukrainian dress, and some pottery in the middle here. Wizards of Oz, a kiln-fired painted storage jar, and just a little message on how culture matters, which I really love. Then we went to Phantom of the Opera before it closed on Broadway in April, I believe, and also in the West End. I was thrilled. This was a childhood dream of mine to go. I didn't think I'd get to see it in the West End, but I did. And this theater is the Queen Victoria Theater, and it's really beautiful. Quite narrow. And then we also saw Agatha Christie's The Mousetrap, which was also on my bucket list as something to see. The theater itself is really beautiful too. All the red, the wood accents, all of it is gorgeous. And the next day we went to the National Gallery, and I love this Joan of Arc painting. And of course we saw Vincent van Gogh's Sunflowers. And I show my close-up footage here just because I want you to see the detail, especially on these floral paintings, because they're just a marvel. This was one of my favorites because it's kind of meta. It's an art gallery portrait inside an art gallery. And Claude Monet, of course. This one is an impressionist work, and Botticelli's women have something truly magical about them. Like, look at her hand, the detail. And some more Van Gogh. This one has that swirly, ethereal quality to it that his work always has. And on the last day, I went to the lush Oxford Street Spa, and it was like a witch's brewery in there, the bubbling. And afterwards they give you a cup of tea. And speaking of tea, I love peachy tips. We also later that day went to a graveyard in South Kensington and wandered around for quite a while, and it was so beautiful. And I always feel such a sense of repose in graveyards. I think that they're somber reminders of where we're all headed, and that if you really love and care about someone, you should tell them. So I always use graveyards as an excuse to call a loved one later that day or tell them I love them. But the daffodils were coming up because this was early March, and the snowdrops as well were peeking through. And we went to the Atlantis bookshop, which had broomsticks right out front the door, but this is an early occult bookshop. And I saw where Virginia Woolf lived as well, and where the pre-raphaelite brotherhood was founded. And here are the daffodils, and a few of the roses that I saw. I did a lot of book shopping, of course, and saw these gorgeous orange-spined penguins. But really, and will start to close the video. At this point, walking through a little park in Dorchester, I fell in love with England. I really loved it, and I can't wait to go back. If you are a literary person in any way, you know that going is a dream, and there's so much history and so much to see. I loved every minute of it, and I especially loved Dorchester. It was such a cute little town. You can see just how small and quaint this little park was. Because we went for quite a while, we had a lot of time to just sit and reflect, and in the mornings get a nice full English breakfast and have a cup of tea and take it really easy, which is not always the most time efficient thing to do on vacations. But here's my cup of tea, and here's Holloway Road Station closed because of football. Good night. Thank you so much.